Your show will go live in 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. Long Talk Radio. Please listen
Remember to mute your microphone and your speakers. Aloha. Good evening. This is Andrew Aloha live out of Tucson, Arizona. Spiritual Homes Productions on Blog Talk Radio and freeconferencing.com and Webinar Jam. Establishing and maintaining relationships through you guys. Aloha and welcome to tonight's show, Andrew Aloha Live. Tonight we're talking with Christopher Moon, all the way out of Denver, or actually all the way out of California. We're going to be talking about the spirit phone. Aloha, Christopher, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Very good. I tell you about this has been an interesting weekend. But anyhow, and just to let you guys know, what is the spirit phone? The spirit phone is an amazing device created by a man named Frank Sumpton in 2002. Christopher Moon started testing and using the apparatus in early 2004. This machine is believed to be the completed version of the Thomas Edison's legendary telephone to the dead. This invention facilitates actual two-way communication with the spirit world. The spirit phone requires a very specific psychic medium's energy to work correctly. Christopher, blessed with his energy, not only receives the translated messages through the device, but also provides energy to the instrument as well. Christopher Moon has had his first paranormal experience since at the age of 7. Daily occurrences from that time on included objects disappearing and reappearing, doors opening and closing on their own fruition, strange shadows and light anomalies, and lightly haunted sonnets on the family's 100-year-old grand piano. He also discovered that he had a definite psychic medium sense and began traveling on his life journey doing remedial paranormal investigation at the mere age of 13 years of age. So, anyhow, and welcome and thank you for being here, Christopher. And we're going to talk to Chris here now about the spirit phone, about a lot of the stuff going on, and just go with it. But right now, what I want to do is give a big aloha to all our underwriters, beginning with Maha Dakini Lorraine at www.mahadakini.com. Maha Dakini Lorraine's life has been a personal journey exploring sexuality and spirituality for over 20 years. She's a certified tantric counselor and tantric healer and a certified mind sound teacher. Maha Dakini Lorraine is also a graduate of Margot Anand's year-long Sky Dancing Tantra Facilitator Training Program and a current member of the American Association of Sex Educators, Counselors, and Therapists Club, and a charter member of the Association of Sexual Energy Professionals. She's a regular. She regularly attends trainings and conferences to keep current with the latest research and information on sexual education. And then we have the 90-Day Ascension Journey at www.90dayascensionjourney.com. When you sign up for the 90-Day Ascension Journey, you will be facilitated with defining and redefining your soul or true life purpose. You will be assisted with finding out what the ascension means to you. On this journey, you will be provided with tools, techniques, and assistance to empower you to connect and reconnect with yourself, your emotions and feelings, and your mind, body, and spirit. Through a universal soul-centered process, you will be going through a lifelong transformation that will allow you to move forward with the endeavors and never look back if you dare. And then we have Audible at audiobooks by Amazon.com at www.audibletrial.com. Download a free audiobook.com now. Listen to one of the top bestsellers or choose from 150,000 other titles. Exchange any book you don't like, no questions asked. If it works on your iPhone, it works on your iPhone, iPad, everything. Android, Kindle Fire, Windows Phone, and computer. Get an audiobook of your choice free with a 30-day trial. After the trial period, you'll have a paid membership and cancel at any time if you want. With your membership, you receive 1 credit every month, good for any audiobook on Audible. And then we have Zakairan Shion at www.zakairan.com. Zakairan Shion teaches you how to co-create heaven on earth, how to become empowered to co-create heaven in your life, how to master the law of attraction with your dreams and make your dreams come true. Learn tips on how to focus your energy and attention in a consistent, persistent way so that you can be healthy, wealthy, and happy. Ask questions, find out the secrets of the universe, find out how easy creating heaven on earth is in your life. Zakairan is an emissary of love and light, completely dedicated to the awakening of humanity to their full mastery and co-creation of heaven on earth. And then we have Dr. Margaret Rogers Van Coops at www.samaracenter.com. Founder of Samara Psychic Education Center in England, Dr. Margaret Rogers Van Coops' psychic and healing talents have been recognized since early childhood. She's a PhD, minister, metaphysician, clinical hypnotherapist, doctor of integrated medicine, paranormal teacher, author, psychic healer, therapist, counselor, metaphysiotherapist. She's also an author of 7 metaphysically oriented textbooks that have been published both in Western and Eastern Europe, as well as Russia, China, Mexico, and India. She's also practiced successfully in Spain, France, Switzerland, England, India, Egypt, Japan, and Mexico, and the United States as well. We also have Thunderbeat with her book, Look Up My Encounters with ETs and Angels at www.thundervisionrecords.com. This amazing true story about Thunderbeat's lifelong journey with ETs and angels will shatter your views of the world as you know it. Thunderbeat and her mother were transported on board a spacecraft when she was 4 years old and have been in contact with them since then. They have relayed stunning information about the future of our planet to her. The angels and stars and the star people have guided her with divine messages and revolutionary ways of healing, which was part of the plan she agreed upon. Find out what is in store for us and our planet's future. And then we have Israel Hurtado at www.enlighten-yourlife.com. Author and Reiki master, Israel Hurtado is also a healer, psychic medium, clairvoyant, sensitive, spiritual visionary, spiritual counselor, and mentor. He has helped out thousands of people throughout his career using his intuitive wisdom, spiritual communication, and life experiences to help them believe in themselves, recognize their unique talents, find their true mission, and live their passion in life. Israel comes from many different ancient teachings and lineages. His mission is to serve you with an open heart, to find clarity and purpose in life, passion for what you love, and alignment with your true life passion to transform your life. And finally, we have Sage Lee at www.smallbusinessbigbrand.com. Sage Lee runs an international brand consultation business based in Santa Cruz, California, offering brand training to businesses throughout the world. Is your brand sucking? Get access to your free customized brand report and three bonus video tips to easily attract the right kinds of clients to your businesses now. Get valuable tips on valuable tips you can implement right away, and get an instant access to brand assessment tool so you can start finding where your brand is sucking and where it's ruling today. Awesome. So, and again, I want to thank you for being here, Chris, and sharing some of your time with us. And I know you got lots going on, but I also know that this is something that you definitely should share some of the stuff, because some of the stuff with the spirit phone, it seems pretty out of this world. But then again, it's not something new to me, because I heard about the spirit phone years and years ago, like 20 plus years ago. I heard about the spirit phone, and at that point, it was just a prediction or just some kind of a forecast. But here it is, here in my face, the spirit phone. And so, again, if you can just give us a rundown about who Christopher Moon is, where you got your start, where you were born, and then how, and then we'll talk about the spirit phone as well. How's that?
Yeah, that sounds great. And again, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. Just a little about me, you kind of covered it in the beginning. I've had experiences for the majority of my life. And growing up where I did, which was a Native American burial ground, I started having experiences about the age of 7. And it was something I was more thrown into than anything else. But yeah, it started out as having these experiences and having this ability, and being a musician on the road, and all sorts of different things that actually led me back to owning my own magazine and becoming a quote-unquote professional paranormal investigator, and being given the opportunity to literally go around the world and not only explore these purportedly haunted locations and teach classes and things like that, but also to be able to go out with this device and really, I feel, help quite a few people.
Got it. So, so I guess let's go back to when you encountered the spirit phone from Sumpton himself. Kind of give us a play-by-play action about how that occurred, and then what transpired, and then how you came across this spirit phone yourself.
Well, it was interesting, and Frank will tell you to this day that he's not quite sure how it all came to be and exactly what it is and all those types of things. But we had made contact with each other, I want to say about 2002, early 2003, and he had invited me to actually come and actually see this device that he created, where he believed he was capturing otherworldly voices, whether that be spirit or extraterrestrial, interdimensional, whatever the case might be. And I was fortunate enough, I went with my father, and he actually gave me one of these devices to go use out in the field. And after, testing it a few times, I didn't think there was a whole lot to it. It seemed, when I first heard it, sounded more like a broken radio. It seemed like we were just getting random fragments that were coming through. And I couldn't say that it necessarily worked. So I actually put it on the shelf for quite a while. And sometime later, I want to say about a year later, that I actually was able to take this thing out into the field and start using it. And I was really amazed, as anyone would be, when I turned the device on. And I actually started hearing these spirit voices coming through. I started asking questions, and they were responding directly to my questions that were coming through. And there were also voices that we captured on what we call open air EVP. So these weren't new voices. These were actual voices that we had heard in the past and were coming through the speakers of this device. So that's what opened up my eyes to it. And, of course, at that time, when I told other researchers about it, they thought I was completely insane, which I could understand when you say you have a magic, box or radio that brings through the voices of the dead. People are going to be skeptical. And it really took some time. I teach in a event called Ghost Hunting University around the world, and I would talk about this device to the classes that I'd have. They'd look at me a little bit funny, but when we would actually go out and use the device on the investigations, they would not only hear the voices that we were talking about as far as the spirits and the location, but they would actually hear the voices of some of their family members that would come through. And I wanted no part of that in the beginning. I didn't want to label myself as a quote-unquote psychic medium, because at that time it was a really bad name to be a psychic medium. So I really tried to keep it quiet. And eventually we did a radio show, Coast to Coast, and that got the word out there about it. And pretty soon people were really interested in the project, and it became a little bit bigger. And ended up doing an event in Savannah, Georgia, where I was put on the spot and had to do readings for people, which I'd never done in my life, in front of a huge crowd. And it was an entire room of people that got readings. Everybody made a contact with somebody on the other side. And I just still at that point was convinced. And I was still using for paranormal investigation, and I ended up doing an event at the Stanley Hotel in Colorado.
Well, that'll teach you to be shy and modest. There you go.
Right. I was going to be forced into it one way or the other, I think. But the event at the family hotel, I made some connections that night. It really just tied everything together. I started your personal readings for people and private readings for people at that point, and gallery readings and things like that. And it's just incredible to see really the healing that's really helped people out. So I'm really blessed in that sense.
Yeah, no kidding. Wow, that's pretty amazing. So I guess now, do you have that spirit phone with you now?
I do.
Because for those of you, first of all, now, you can watch these. Not only can you listen to these shows on Blog Talk Radio and freeconferencing.com right now, but you can also you can see the video version on Webinar Jam. So if you go in and sign up for the Webinar Jam program, you can see this video, and literally this will go out to YouTube as well. So can you like show it to us on video right there on the screen? Can you do that?
Yeah, it's kind of a small window here, but I'll give it a shot.
Okay.
Try and hold the phone. But you know, if you look at it this way, here it just looks like a kind of like a wood suitcase or just a box.
Yeah, I see that.
And if you open it up, you can actually see kind of some of the inner workings inside. You got that there.
Yeah.
And essentially, yeah, that's what it looks like. And it's funny because it actually started out as a huge machine. It was a gigantic computer tower with a detached speaker over this, and now it's down to this handheld unit. Frank's just amazing how he builds these.
Now, I mean, for those of you that are in the audience, we're going to be bringing Chris in for the Golden Age channel panel, which will be, I think, the next Friday. We're bringing him in, and he's going to be doing readings and also be communicating with I don't know that you have any ghosts in your place, but maybe there might be some ghosts there. But now this will be interesting to do. Will you be able to connect with? Let's say there's a ghost in my place. Will you be able to connect with a ghost in my place from where you're at now? So that'll be interesting to check out.
The way that exactly the way that it works, basically we have, people call them guides, spirit guides. I call it spirit technicians. Basically what they'll do is they'll actually be able to reach out to the energies that want to speak. So time and distance really just don't make a difference. It's just their intent and communication.
Got it. So I guess now earlier it said that this something guy literally put together the box with the help of another scientist on the other side using EVP system. And so can you tell us about that?
Well, when it comes down to it, Frank is just the technical genius behind everything that goes on with this stuff. And, I've heard a lot of different stories over the years of how it all really came to be. But when Frank and I first met and had a chance to talk, he talked about being very much into shortwave radio and, reading several articles on communications with the other side and extraterrestrials and things like that, and really kind of putting it together through those messages that were coming through. And it's the thing that amazes me, and actually kind of being around Frank for so many years now, on and off, watching him build these devices, it's incredible just the ability he has. And I don't even think he realizes that the necessary ability that he has when he's building these things, because there's a lot of copycats out there and a lot of different things that try to sound like this, but I've never heard anything that sounds like this device. He's an absolute genius when it comes to building these things.
So now my question, I guess, is how was he able to contact the scientist so he can build this box? Because I mean, assumably you need the box to be able to contact those people on the other side to begin with. So how was he, prior to it being built, how was he able to contact the people from the other side?
Well, again, talking to Frank, the story of all of it's kind of altered and shifted over the years, but the one thing that he stayed consistent in is that he had that shortwave radio interest, the hobby, and I'm assuming he got messages through there. And also, he is a big component of EVP Maker and some of the other designs that were out there to that brought in random fragments and where spirits were able to start putting things together. So he really kind of brought those ideas together and experiments with the device that way.
Got it, got it. So now let me, and so I guess he had some older prototypes that he was able to use to build the newer prototype that's much better than what it was before. Is that what I hear you saying?
Right. Yeah, like I said, the first device that we actually got from him was a huge white vanilla computer tower and extension speaker and echo box and chamber, and altogether this had to weigh over 100 pounds. It was not portable. They can only take it from certain locations to certain locations. But, you know, Frank's been amazing over the years, and he's, you know, given me quite a few devices that I've actually been able to kind of go out there and test. So I have quite a few of them that I still use today, and it's nice to kind of compare the older generation to the newer generation because they all have certain qualities that are great.
Got it, got it. So now, what about white noise? Have you ever experienced anything like that with white noise?
In my experiments?
Yeah, yeah. And well, can you give an example? Oh, can you describe what white noise is for those people that may not understand that?
Well, basically, what white noise is just an absence of sound for the most part. What it really is if you unplug the back of your cable from your TV and let it sit on channel 3, that sound that comes through is your basic white noise sound. And a lot of researchers believe that if you use white noise as a background source, you can actually record spirit voice over the top of it. And what's interesting is that I tried doing that for years to see if that might work, and all I got was really noisy EVPs. I actually was doing better with just, you know, leaving the recorder on and asking the questions, getting their voices that would come across. But the one thing I did find out that's interesting about white noise is that spirits are attracted to the sound. They love it or they hate it, but they will always come to it. So it's kind of like fishing with dynamite. If you turn it on for a good 10 minutes, you'll bring them into the location, and you can go ahead and start asking questions and reporting because they'll always be there.
Wow, wow.
Absolutely.
So now, what was I going to say? If you can give the audience kind of describe what EVP stands for and what it means as well.
Sure. EVP stands for electronic voice phenomena. And essentially what it is capturing the voice of something on a recording device that was not physically in the room with you. Basically, you're trying to capture ghost or spirit voices. The interesting thing about it, though, is that scientists have debunked this for years, saying that there's random radio waves going through the atmosphere that are kind of really not. But, you know, EVP is fairly easy to debunk or create the illusion that you're debunking it. And that's what's really beautiful about using this machine is that you're receiving direct answers back from the spirit. You ask your question and they answer you specifically to what you're asking. And that's what I really encourage people to do, whether it's EVP or use of a device, whatever the case might be, is I tell people, don't just turn it on and hope that things come through, because your mind will start putting all sorts of things together if you get random sounds that come in. Ask a specific question, leave 15 seconds of silence, and see if they can respond directly to your question and answer it for you. And when we started doing that, that's when we started getting our best results and actually hearing the voices of spirit on the other side. You know, again, I can't tell you how incredible it is when somebody actually hears a loved one's passed away come through this machine. It is life-changing.
Oh, really? Yeah, no kidding. So people can have actually heard their loved ones on the other side through this box.
The majority, absolutely.
Wow. Awesome, awesome. And for those of you in the chat room, I want to thank you for being here. And you can call in for and ask your own questions if you like. 646-716-4251, 646-716-4251. And if, for those of you that are interested in seeing the video version, you can go to spiritualimageproductions.com, spiritualimageproductions.com. You can go on the left-hand side. There's a link that says the Golden Age channel panel, and excuse me, the Andrew Aloha Live. There's a link that says Andrew Aloha Live. Click on that, and there's a join webinar button there. So you just click on that, put in your name and email address, and then that'll send you a link so you can connect with us and literally see Chris here on video. So if you want to do that, that's up to you if you want to take that extra step or not. But in the meantime, just to let you guys know, we're going to be bringing in again Chris next Friday to do readings on this show. On the Golden Age channel panel, so we're gonna be doing some channeling, and then we're gonna be doing some readings with him. And if you're interested in doing that, come back by and stop back by. And again, you might want to go ahead and sign into the webinar system so that you can actually see him. But we're gonna be taking questions and doing some stuff like that on Friday of next week. So now, Chris. What else? What are some of the unusual, interesting experiences you've had with your spirit phone?
Oh, I've had so many. I mentioned earlier, I think that one of the most intriguing experiences that I had was early on when I was actually invited to Savannah. It was a ghost conference there, and Chip Coffey, who's a medium, a lot of people know him from the state, a few other things, had actually invited me in. And like I said, put me on the spot, and I ended up to do readings for all these people. And when they came forward, I did not know what to think. We had a big PA system, and that the sound was coming through, and it was noisy, and all sorts of different things. And as each person came up, they actually were able to hear their loved one on the other side, and gave messages to every single person there.
Wow.
And I always thought it was funny because afterwards, Chip, who had always tried to convince me for years, you need to do personal readings for people. After that, he said, "Are you ready to start doing personal readings for people? This is incredible." And I said, "Absolutely not. I don't want to do this anymore." So I almost bowed out at that point. It was just too much emotion to take on all at once. And I don't think people realize, as a medium and using these devices, or even if you're just doing readings for people, you're taking on the emotion, you're taking on all that feeling that comes through in the situation. And when you're doing mediumship, when you're actually performing, you actually are being drained of your energy as well as receiving their energy. So it can be a fairly tasking experience. So I wasn't sure if I wanted to do that, but that experience right there gave me the confidence to move forward. And I think later on, you have to question yourself if you're in this field. You always have to say, am I crazy? Am I hearing this for myself? Is it just me? And if you stop doing that, you're in trouble. But what I realized is the best thing for me to do is just open my mouth up and let whatever comes out come out, and take down the guard, take down the gates from spirits were actually relaying most information. But when I would get in the way of it, and I would try to put judgment on it or say, that sounds crazy, why would I say that? That would actually stop the messages coming through. So anymore, I just say whatever comes through and let you to be involved in some really extraordinary cases.
Awesome. I want to first of all, I want to give a shout out to Izzy Everlong, and also Steve Hute. Thank you for dropping by, and also John. Where was he? John, I don't remember. Oh, HGT. John, I want to congratulate you. You're the first one that has been that's actually been on the webinar since I started doing these radio shows on the webinar jam. I haven't had anybody come in because I don't know if people are interested in this or not. So I'm just kind of doing this as a beta test type of thing to see if people like this. So I want to thank you for stopping by, John. And like I said, if you guys want to stop by next Friday, we're going to be doing readings with this spirit phone. And for the people that are in the webinar system are the ones that are getting to get the readings first. And then we're going to do everybody else after that. So for those of you that are interested in getting a reading, you're going to want to go ahead and like I said, just put in your name and email address, and you'll get a link, and then you can get in here and you can be eligible for a free reading from Chris here now. And also Alba, we're going to have, Abla, we're going to be having Abla, who's a really incredible psychic medium out of England, and she picks up people on the other side amazingly. I had her do a test run with me, and wow, I was impressed. I was pretty amazed. So anyhow, that's going to be interesting to couple both Christopher and Alba together to see how this is going to work out. I think it's going to be very, very interesting. So anyhow, so I guess do you think there's possibility that this spirit phone is going to be evolve even more to a much better communication system? Do you think?
Well, it's interesting right now because after I did the coast-to-coast interview in 2007, there were quite a few people who basically tried to build their own device. Kind of like being the kid on the block who has a new toy and nobody else does. And one thing that I had talked about at that point is the only devices that I needed that worked definitely were the ones that Frank built. And I'm of the belief and understanding that you really do have to have a specific mediumship ability to not own the device but then receive the messages back. So there are a lot of machines out there today that people use where they pack radios, and they have applications, all sorts of different things to emulate this. But I heard anything that works like this device.
Got it. So, but I'm somehow get the feeling that it's going to be evolved even more and more and be perfected even more. And I think we'll have it'll be better communication further down the road. So what now?
I definitely hope so. Oh, I was going to say, I definitely hope so. Frank, really, we kind of went back and forth for a few years about a video version of the device because I was receiving messages actually try to start recording video. And I had no idea how to do that. I'm not the technical person that Frank is. So Frank actually started experimenting, and we started getting some really incredible results on what we call the video phone. A lot of that. Right now we're kind of stuck in a stage with that one, but my hope is that Frank is going to get in and start expanding a little bit more, and I'm sure he will. He definitely has the expertise to do it, and we'll start getting even clearer versions of these machines that come through.
Well, so now what I'm getting here, Chris, is that first of all, there's a guy by the name of Steve Holte who says he's been following you for several years, and then John HGT, who was in the webinar system, is saying that he's gotten readings from you with your system, and he said I guess he's going to come back on Friday and get another see about getting another free one. But John, I don't know if you can call in or not and talk to us about your reading to see how they went, but I would definitely welcome you to do that if you're interested in doing that. So if you want to do that, 646-716-4251, 646-716-4251. If you're interested in doing that, that would be awesome. So I'll tell you what we're going to do right now, Chris, is we're going to take a breather. We're going to play some music by Peter Jam from his album Vibrations, and we're going to send out love, blessings, healings, angels of light, and love to people with his music. With this, the song is called "I Have to Tell You" by Peter Jam from his album Vibrations, and so we're going to send out love, blessings, healings, angels of light, love to all the people here on the phone lines and the chat rooms, all our family and friends, to all our vehicles and all our places of residence, of course, because they take care of us, and then to all the kids and the animals and the plants on the planet, especially the ones in need and concern, to the President of the United States and his family. Anybody you want to add to that, Chris?
I think that just the general populace and all these crazy things that have been going on.
To everyone else in need and concern, and then we will be back. I Have to Tell You by Peter Jam from his album Vibrations, and we will be back.
The weight I carry is the cross I did not choose. I have to tell you all about me. All my life where I've been through. Circumstances just killed my way. I have to tell you all about me. about her. All the pain she's been through. She tried to find me. She tried to find her. She tried to find the guy called you. I have to tell you all about her. All the illusions she's been through. Circumstances just chill away. How to tell you all about her. I can tell you about us. I know the song just won't do. Consequences just chill away. I have to tell you about us. Love never put up with us. Know that we've been through. Love never put up with us. Know that we've been through. Love never put up with us. Now that we've been through. Love never put up with us. Now that we've been through. Never put up with us. Now that we are through.
And we're back. This is Aloha live out of Tucson, Arizona with Spiritual Productions on Blog Talk Radio and freeconferencing.com and Webinar Jam. Establishing and maintaining right relationships through human bodies. Aloha, tonight we were talking to Christopher Moon on an Aloha live interview show and talking about the spirit phone. And welcome back. Thank you for being here, Christopher. What I want to do right now is open up the lines. I believe this is John. He's stated he's had a reading from you with the spirit phone, and I just wanted to get his take on what it was like for him. Is this John? Aloha, you're on the area code 713.
Yes, this is John.
John, aloha, where are you located at?
Houston, Texas.
Really, really, wow. So I'm assuming that you found out about tonight's show from Chris, from his list somewhere in his social media or whatever. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. So now, Chris, do you remember who John is? Do you know who he is?
Oh, I do, absolutely.
Okay, so you guys know each other well.
You better.
So, John.
John is because John has become an old friend of ours.
Got it. So, John, what has been your experiences? I'm assuming that you've had more than one reading with Spirit Phone. What has been your experiences with this reading, this phone, and so forth?
Well, actually, yes, you're correct. I have had more than one. And I don't even recall how I came to know Chris originally. I think I signed up to take his magazine, The Haunted Times, and I was very impressed with the magazine, a very wonderful publication. And then he was teaching classes, and there was an announcement in it that he was teaching a class in New Orleans back in 2008, I believe. And I went to one of his classes over there, and that's when I was first introduced to the Spirit Box, and I was very impressed by it and always remembered it. And then another time I had set up a thing here for Chris to do a thing in Galveston, Texas, where he brought the Spirit Box, and we benefited from it a lot. And then I had a friend where we did a session over the phone with Chris.
Got it. So now, what were the classes about?
Actually, the classes were kind of his Ghost Hunting University 101 and I guess 102. You know, it's 2 nights of information that he put together.
Got it. And Chris, are you still doing those classes now?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I still do those all over the world. I've actually got one coming up in Iowa at the Mason in Edmondsport, Iowa, this coming Saturday and Sunday.
Okay. Oh, so for people there in Iowa, you might want to grab that for sure. So, okay.
Absolutely.
And where else are you teaching these things?
I teach the classes literally all over the world. We're going to be back to New Orleans. Good for John. We're going to be back to New Orleans coming up next year, and we're planning on hitting some of the old locations that we used to do around the country, and we've got some new interesting ones coming up. One thing I wanted to touch base on, because we've got John on the phone, and this is one thing I'll never forget. He sponsored us to come out and do our Ghost Hunting University at 2 great hotels out in Galveston, and we just had an amazing experience out there. And the one thing that I'll never forget about this, and I bet you John will probably know exactly what I'm talking about before I even say it, is if anybody knows anything about Galveston and the terrible hurricane that took so many lives out there, I wasn't really aware of the scenario going in. And we ended up doing a public spirit phone session during the university. And when we turned on the machine at one of the hotels, there were just what seemed like thousands of people crying out for help. And for the first time with me using the machine, I didn't really know what to do. And there was a lady, one of our attendees, who had come to several events, and she stepped forward. And we realized that this was the majority of these spirits were stuck earthbound, and from the hurricane that had taken place and taken so many lives.
Wow.
And she started reciting, the Lord's Prayer over the top of the device, and all of a sudden the voices were calm. And you could hear them saying things like, they hear us, God hears us, things along those lines. And they listened to us saying the Lord's Prayer over and over again. And we feel like we crossed, I don't even know how many that night, John, but we crossed so many years over. It was one of the most amazing experiences I've ever been involved with.
Wow. Because I know people that do that. They intentionally do group sessions, and that's exactly all they do is help people cross over from the spirit, from the ghost world to the spirit world, and they do it regularly, like once a month or something like that. I don't know what, but just to sit down and do lots of them in that one session, that's pretty amazing.
It was incredible, and we hadn't really set out to do that. We didn't expect it. We were just doing one of our classes in investigations, and it just happened. But one of the most synchronistic things I've ever seen take place. John, you still with us?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Oh, okay. Just make sure we didn't lose him. Yeah, and we always said if we ever got another chance, we were going to go back down and try to help more of them out.
Well, nice. So, John, what has been? Well, and we'll come back because I want to talk to you some more about your ghost hunting classes, Chris. But before we do that, I want to go ahead and go back to John, and I want to go ahead and John, what has been your experiences with your readings? What I mean, how real were they for you? Did any of this stuff come true, or did it seem true, or how true was the stuff? What kind of details can you give us? Go ahead.
Well, the only thing I can say is they were very moving. My friend Siobhan got a reading from Chris. She's more open with hers, and she shared it with a number of people. In her case, she actually hears the voice of her loved one, and so she can identify them, and it was very moving, and some of the information he gave us from his side and his point of view was very heartwarming on our side, and we were very moved with the fact that he confirmed that God and Jesus are real. So, you know, that's something that when you're working with knowledge of the existence of something, rather than working out of faith, you feel like you've been very privileged to special information.
So you're saying that you were able to talk to Jesus and God through the spirit phone?
No, I'm just saying that Steve confirmed their existence to us when he was talking to us across the spirit box.
Oh, really? Okay, so somebody on the other side was able to confirm that, there all these people, all this stuff is going on is true.
And that was unsolicited. He offered.
Oh, really?
Of course, it was one of the questions she ran. Yeah.
Interesting. Wow, that's pretty cool. Interesting. So, and what about you personally?
Well, mine's kind of an ongoing thing that I'm working on, and it has it needs some investigation done with it, and because of the nature of it, I don't care to discuss it. It involves a murder, and it has not been resolved.
I hear you. So that's interesting, and you know, whatever happens, I hope, you know, everything's cleared up whenever the time's right, I guess. So that's very interesting. So I guess, well, first of all, let's go. And thank you very much, John. I appreciate you coming by and sharing with us. And if you want to hang on here on the phone and listen to us, that's fine. Or in the webinar, it's up to you. And thank you for coming in to the webinar system. I appreciate that. So so like all this stuff is like I see this vision of all this stuff working together, and so finally you helped me complete my vision tonight. So that's pretty cool. Thank you very much. So Christopher, I guess in investigating the 101 classes, what are those about? What kind of stuff are you teaching people these classes?
Well, I started out, I actually created Ghost Hunter University, kind of going back. I created Ghost Hunter University in 2002 in kind of a strange way. We had done an investigation of a property in Colorado Springs, Colorado, and when we went to go do the investigation at the bed and breakfast, we found out the only reason that they had invited us down to do the investigation was to make fun of us and make it a big media blitz. These crazy ghost people and psychics are going to come out and try to hunt for ghosts in our location. And when we got down there, and the TV crews were there, and the radio stations were there, and the newspapers, we took them up on the challenge. We said, okay, we'll prove to you that this is real. If you're willing to stay with us and really have an open mind, we'll prove it. And they said, oh, yeah, great, okay, this will be a great gag, real kind of thing. And so we took them out with us, and all the time they started seeing the pictures we were getting, and then they started getting pictures on their cameras, on their video cameras. They were getting video. Then we started doing EVP sessions, and they started realizing not only on our equipment but on their equipment, they were getting these voices coming in, and it was unexplainable. So this became a huge sensation in Colorado Springs, and it even made it with Denver at that point, that, you know, this crazy ghost group was actually getting something interesting. So every station that you get, every newspaper, every radio station came out and covered this thing. And pretty soon people started calling the bed and breakfast and saying, hey, how do I get to come and do a ghost hunt with these guys? And so we sat down, we sat down with the owners, and we said, hey, you know, we should come up with an actual class where we can teach people how to become paranormal investigators and train them a little bit, the equipment, the techniques, the technology, respect, things along those lines. And then we'll take them on, we'll give them a little dinner and give them the haunted history of the location, and then we'll take them on an actual ghost hunt up the location where they can participate. And we did the first one, and I can't even tell you how many people showed up to this thing. It was huge. And pretty soon it went from a very basic event to getting a little more complex. And then we did that event in Colorado Springs for a good 2 years, and then I took it out to the rest of the country, and it just exploded.
Wow.
So over the years, I've actually developed different classes. The first one was the Ghost Hunting 101 class, And the 101 class just covers the basics. Here's some evidence. Here's some false positives. You know what it looks like when it's not real. You know, and here's the techniques we use, so on and so forth. Let's go out on a ghost hunt. And then we have a 102, which is more advanced. It gets into some of the other things like shadow people, the demonic, things along those lines that you may encounter and run into. 103 is a spirit communication class where we talk about the history of spirit communication all the way back to the very beginning of reflective glass and how people used to try to scry and do things along those lines, all the way up to where we are today with telephones at the Frank's box. And 104 talks about some of our investigations that we've done, teaches a little bit more about evidence along those lines. And we have 105, which is my new favorite one because it's new and it's fun, where we actually go in and it's called the Ultimate Ghost Hunting Adventure. And what we do is we actually make the audience part of the team, and we actually make it a competition. We teach a class, and then we have them present their best stories and evidence, and we give them an award for their best stories and evidence. Then we split them up in teams, and we actually send them out as teams to collect the specific evidence inside of a haunted location. They have to bring it back, and at the end of the night, whoever has the best evidence and who's ever able to present real, genuine evidence to us wins the actual award. So it's kind of like a fun educational edutainment event where they get a certificate of completion at the end.
Yes, so but when they do that, they don't have use of a spirit phone to do that, do they?
Well, what they do with me is they basically put me up in one of the most active rooms inside the location, and I become one of the stations that they go to. So at that point, when they come up to me, we turn on the device, and they're actually able to ask spirit questions through the device. And they have to come in with the right answer or the right questions to get the right answers. And we record everything that comes off the device, and they get to use that for evidence as well.
And you do that with both teams, one right after the other.
Right. Yeah, we usually have about 4 or 5 teams of people, and they're out there trying to gather as much evidence as they possibly can. So they're being educated, and it's kind of a fun way to do it.
They're getting a full hands-on experience with ghost hunting. Interesting.
Right, exactly. So we try to change it up, and there'll be a 106 to go along eventually. So, but right now we're just so busy with what we do that it takes some time to do a whole new class.
Well, so now I guess that's the question I want to ask next, Chris, is what is the spirit phone's capabilities? What can it do? What can it not do?
Well, I don't think we've even really tapped into everything that it can do to this point. When it first started with me, I was more shocked than anything else because, again, there's always been this legend that Thomas Edison's telephone to the dead. There's always been these rumors that this thing was possible. And really, when I first started using the device, that's where I focused. I thought, well, we're going to communicate with spirits on the other side. We're going to attempt to solve some unsolved homicides. We're going to do things along those lines. And as I begun using the device more and more, we've gotten into things that are really fascinating. We talked about angels. We talked about spirit guides. We talked about UFO, interdimensional communications. And all of these things are starting to come together. And this device seems to have the ability to transcend heaven and earth. It seems to be able to communicate with these different entities that are out there, and the information that's coming through is just absolutely fascinating. For instance, right now, I'm
hang on a second, Chris. And area code 303. As soon as we get done talking about this particular session, we're going to bring you in for a question. But go ahead, Chris.
Sure, absolutely. I'm working on a particular case right now. I have for the last several years with one individual. Where and again, I can't really be specific about it, but we're dealing with interdimensional beings that before getting involved in this case and using the device, I would have never been able to personally fathom. It's kind of like the Native Americans seeing the ships coming, the Spanish ships coming. They had no idea what they were when they were coming out until someone was able to stop and look at them and describe them so everyone else could understand it. So, the other worlds that are out there right now are just so absolutely amazing that I think we're just barely scratching the surface.
Oh, I hadn't even thought about that. So you're saying there's other worlds and not just other dimensions as well?
Absolutely. For instance, and I'll just give you a quick story. We were actually doing a filming session. We were videotaping on night vision. We were taking still pictures in the basement of a restaurant in Ashton, Kansas. It used to be used to hide people in the Underground Railroad. And this was a pure vortex. As we started taking pictures of it, taking video of it, you could start seeing faces that were popping through. There was orb energy, there was space energy, there was all sorts of things that were coming in. And the thing that really blew me away and amazed me, and this was my first little step into that, was I would see a human face that would come through clear as day, and then behind that would be what you would consider to be quote-unquote gray alien face with these huge eyes and the very slender face that would come back through it. Absolutely. And it really dawned on me at that moment, what if these entities, we all have to pass, eventually everything was denied, what if these entities are moving through the same vortex as human spirit, and what if this is just one gigantic civilization when we cross that we're all aware of who's really there? So that was just the beginning that I had. But like I said, this case that I've jumped into now is just, it's mind-blowing that things come through.
Okay. So let's go ahead and bring in area code 303. As soon as I can get this going here now. Here we go. Area code, Aloha, area code 303, you're on the air.
You're not doing actual readings. You're just taking questions.
No, we're going to do some readings next Friday, on the same place, same time on Friday, and we're going to bring in the spirit phone to help us do these readings. Well, first of all, who are we talking to, and how did you hear about us?
I just saw. I'm Randy, and I just saw you. I just saw you on the main page, or.
Got it.
And I press live on Blog Talk.
And where are you located at, Randy?
In Colorado.
Colorado. Okay, got it. So, Randy, is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So next.
Yeah, I was calling for a reading, but I guess I would, if I were to ask a question, I would be a little skeptical about what exactly is coming through.
Okay.
Like you said, there's alien beings. They say some of those alien beings aren't all good. So,
Randy, have you heard of the spirit phone, and have you ever done any readings with Chris?
I've never heard of a spirit phone before. No, never heard of it before.
Okay, so this will be an experience for you. Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, let's get into it. First off, thanks for calling, Randy. Appreciate it. And definitely, if you want a reading, please call back in. I would love to do that for you. It's a very long story, but the one thing I will tell you is that I agree with you. There are so many different entities out there. And people have asked me, what's the difference between, using a Ouija board and turning on this device? And the difference for me is the fact that I have what I call a spirit technician or a guide. And essentially, it's their voice that comes through every single time. It's their personality. We have the series of questions that we actually ask each time. And at that point, once I'm sure of who I'm dealing with, at that point we'll move forward and we'll actually communicate. It's not foolproof. We definitely have run into some interesting things in the past. I have actually been heavily tricked, despite my guy telling me at that point, you're not dealing with the person you think you are, me pushing forward and having to find out the hard way. But the one thing I do know is I can trust my technician. The information that he brings through is pure, and it's things that only the other person, the client, would know at that point. And the messages that come through from family members, loved ones, are usually just those messages. They're just their love, their purity, their forgiveness. I've never learned anything negative necessarily during a personal one-on-one with a family member.
So you're saying you have somebody on the other side that's there to receive you when you get ready to do your readings, and not only that, but you have a procedure that you follow through before you even start that allows you to know that you're definitely dealing with your technician on the other side. Is that what I hear?
Absolutely. That's exactly it.
Good idea.
And I appreciate where Randy's coming from, because that's really what this is all about, is being cautious, being sure, and not just reaching out and hoping that you're receiving something back.
And you're right. You're so right, Chris, because in my development process with telepathy and working with other guides and other beings, I had to be careful, because I've had other beings. Whether they were working for the KGB or CIA or whoever, that would try to disguise themselves as being one of these beings, and then I finally figured it out, and then I just had to tell them, you need to leave because I'm not interested in working with you. I have other beings that I want to work with. So thank you very much. So I've had to literally do that. So I hear you. I hear you.
Does that answer your question, Randy?
Yeah, thank you for answering that.
Wow. Okay.
So,
and not only that, but Randy, we're going to have another woman, literally from Aloha, from England, that's going to be on the show, and she will be, and it's going to be interesting to see if you guys can support each other, or are able to support each other. I'm assuming that you will be, but and typically they do. But it would be interesting to see the information that she receives and you receive, and wondering if it's the same information or not, or maybe something slightly different. I think it'll be very interesting. And so come by next Friday for sure.
Okay, I will. Thank you.
Thank you. Aloha.
Thank you.
Bye.
So now, again, what we were talking about. Now have you been able to communicate with aliens? Now I guess that's another good question. Not only aliens, but aliens on the other side as well.
Well, that's, great question. One thing that I'll touch base on, and there's so many different accounts that I can go into, but I think the most fascinating account that I have, for people that are familiar with the Stan Romanek case, I was actually brought in on that case for paranormal investigation, and I had no idea that Stan had involvement with alien beings, with the Starseed program, all the different things that went along with that, and I really didn't know much about it. So I went down to his location in Colorado Springs, Colorado, and it was my father and I. We went in there, we started doing a paranormal investigation, and he stopped us, a couple of minutes in and said, "Wait a minute, I think you need to understand what's really happening here." He proceeded to show us an unfinished documentary of his contact with aliens, everything from implants to, special liquids that he was found in clothing that he would wake up in the morning with, just really amazing things, rewriting Einstein's theories, correcting Einstein's theories, and just all sorts of amazing things. And I still think to this day the most fascinating thing that I saw in that documentary is that he actually showed 2 clips where he had captured an alien head outside of his window and outside of his door. And it wasn't just a head popping up and down where it looked like a mask. It was something that actually had facial expressions, where he was being scared, and it would mimic him being scared. And it changed my life at that moment. I couldn't believe what I had seen. My father, we were just dumbfounded. And after that, he showed us some documentation, military documentation that really was amazing. And we continued to do our paranormal investigation and found out that he had a lot of the same typical things happening in his home that you would find in a quote-unquote standard haunting, vortex and orbs, facial energies and things like that. And the one thing that really blew me away is we were using one of the first devices, we were calling telephone to the dead with the spirit phone, or Frank's box. And we turned it on and we started asking questions, and we were getting answers from these alien entities and some strange sounds that were coming through and things like that. But then over the speakers, there was an English woman's voice that came through. And she was very clear about helping Stan, and that she was the one who would tell him what to do and to be safe. And I thought, this is the craziest EVP that I've ever gotten through this machine before. I can't believe this stuff. So driving back in the torrential rainstorm, he called us up and said, "You won't believe what we got. We won't believe what we got." And we started talking about the fact of who this was. Well, it was about 3 days later. I had an event in Arizona, and I went to my home voicemail. And this was back in the days when we actually had landlines. I went to my home voicemail, and I was flipping through my voicemails, and lo and behold, the English woman's voice who came through my machine was now on my voicemail, clear as day, telling me what I needed to do to be involved with the case, how I protect myself, should I move any further that I was going to be in danger, so on and so forth. And it just absolutely blew me away.
Oh, interesting.
So
interesting.
It was incredible. That's the Reader's Digest version of the whole thing. But
So
that
she
was
literally called you on your phone and left you a message on your machine?
on my landline. Yeah,
Wow.
absolutely.
Wow.
It was the same voice that I got through the telephone to the dead, the spirit phone.
Wow.
So that to me was one of those synchronistic moments that I discount. Yeah.
So now, what are other capabilities that your spirit phone has or doesn't have?
Well, finding out every day. The one thing, again, talking to angels, spirit guides, which are very much one and the same, people are actually able to obtain names, the real names of their guides, as well as the given names or names that they give themselves. With people, we find out how many guides they have. We find out what direction they're pushing their lives in, how much information they can give us. They talk about the fact of, the world and how it works in the universe, essentially how once we pass and we end up back in the home space or heaven, as some people refer to it, that basically we sit down with our guides, we sit down with our soul circle, and at that point make the decision on the lessons that we need to learn in this lifetime, and our parents and family members and all sorts of things that we're going to have to experience and teach, and then we're sent back with that voluntary amnesia, and at that point we have to learn. And the guides will make themselves known when they need to be known. And it's really just an amazing process to know that, there really is a grand plan out there. There really is this master idea of how it all works. So that's an amazing thing. And then the other thing that I found out just a few years ago, really, is the fact that the device actually has the ability to pick up your past life, where sometimes guides will go in, or even old family members will come back and talk about who you used to be in another lifetime for this one, and will actually give you information on that. And I was very skeptical of it. I'm a skeptical person, believe it or not, in a very strange way, that I always question things before I just kind of spurt it out and say what's happening. So in this case, I thought, I don't really know if this past life thing could work. And the first person that I met who wanted to do it sat down with me in Atlanta, Georgia, at a conference called Through the Veil. And the two of us sat down, and I said, okay, let's give it a shot and see what happens. And he started asking questions, and his face he was shocked. And I gave him information about how he had lived in a certain time, early America, so on and so forth. And he actually contacted me about 2 weeks later and said, it turns out that I was my own ancestor.
And it's funny because earlier that's what I was going to say. A lot of these beings that are coming through that are maybe aliens, or they may actually be beings that we are in future lifetimes.
Absolutely. And it's interesting. There's no time on that side. There really are no boundaries. It's all doorways. And that's what we find out, is that this is just a completely circular universe. And I'm not going to claim to understand 0.1% of how it all works, but the glimpses that I've been given through this machine just absolutely blow me away.
Wow. So now, what kind of angels or saints have you talked to that that people know in the mainstream or whatever?
Well, we've talked to a lot of interesting spirits that have come through. Angels being one. We've had angels that come through that claim to be, the more well-known, the Archangel Michael, so on and so forth. I have to believe if my guide says that that's who they are, because it's very hard for me to embrace that and say, yes, I believe that the Archangel Michael comes through to these specific people at specific times. But it does happen. And we've seen it on a consistent basis. I mean, we've had amazing things, not to go backwards here, but we've had amazing things happen where we were doing what could better be known as a spirit phone reading, a gallery in one of President Lincoln's parents' friends' homes, let's put it that way, in Springfield, Missouri. And as I turned on the machine, everybody wanted to see President Lincoln. So I had never made an attempt like that before, but I figured I'd give it a shot. Turned on the device, asked for President Lincoln to come through. He came through in his own voice. His wife came through in her own voice. And they were having a basic press conference going back and forth, people raising their hands, Mr. President, Mr. President. And he was answering their questions one by one. And and it just blew me away, because one thing I am not is a history buff. I hate to admit that, but that's just not me. And these things that were coming out of my mouth and coming through the machine didn't make sense to me, but they made sense to everyone who was there and really did study it. And I think that the more fascinating thing is somebody actually asked, they said, what do you feel, how do you feel about Obama being president? And he came and said, basically, that's my legacy. And as that happens, you can see on night vision video, a little energy fly around my head and then fly out of the room. So we've been able
he's connected to Obama as part of the lineage. Is that what I hear you say?
Well, basically what he was saying, I believe, this is my interpretation of what he was saying, is to have an African-American president was really the thing that he was striving for all along, you know, the ultimate equality. So that's really what that came down to.
Okay, well, so are you saying, okay, and maybe I didn't get this clear, are you saying that President Lincoln is also the same person as President Obama?
No, not at all. Basically, people were asking President Obama, or they were asking President Lincoln about how he felt about Obama being president. And he essentially said it was the greatest thing, that was his legacy. That's what he always had hoped would happen.
Oh.
And he brought that through. And so it was just incredible. And to watch this energy flying around my head as it was going on, everyone in the room hearing it, it was just incredible. And it was caught on camera, and that's what was amazing.
Wow, really? So now, I guess my next question is what other kind of investigations have you done that have come out to seem either, you know, disprove something or prove something that was very significant or interesting?
Well, there's a lot of investigations we've done. And, you know, the one thing is that we used to tell people when we would go into their purportedly haunted location, a lot of these bed and breakfasts and hotels and restaurants would claim to be haunted. And one thing we said is, we're going to come in there, we're going to do all of our testing, we're going to go through with the equipment, we're going to use the devices that we have available, and we're going to find out if you truly do have activity or not. So if you do have activity, that'll be great. It'll help you out, obviously, knowing who's there and being able to communicate. But if you don't have something there, this could ruin your whole business if it's just some kind of legend and rumor. And we made some enemies that way. Because a lot of these locations, once you find out that there's really nothing happening there, they get pretty upset with you. Tell people that. But we can tell them in advance. And then there's other locations that we go to, you know, that just have a massive amount of energy. The Mason House, which I mentioned there, Saturday and Sunday this coming week. We've been there since 2005. The owners are amazing people. And by the way, they just had surgery. I want to say to both of them, God bless you, and please get better soon. Look forward to seeing you. But this location is like Disneyland when you go in there. And the reason I say that is there are so many spirits that we call there that want to communicate, that want to interact. There's nothing negative. There's nothing terrible there. It's just all positive spirits that want to teach us what's on the other side. These spirits will communicate through the device. When we're not there, they have, you know, quote-unquote ghost cats that jump up on the bed. They have water that turns on and off in the middle of the night. They have chandeliers in their ears. They pick up apparitions walking through. It's just absolutely incredible. We're able to actually go in, and, you know, for people like Chuck Hansen who owns that location, there's some missing pieces of history in a small town. And we're actually able to go in with the device and fill in the blanks of the history in that town. There's people who are there, the things that happen there, the reasons things happen there. And the interesting thing is he'll be able to go ahead and take the information that we get and many times go back and actually be able to document it through research. So that's really an incredible thing.
Yeah, no
the other thing that, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, it's just amazing. And, you know, for the more spectacular side of things, we started investigating a location called the Lumber Baron Inn in Colorado here. It's actually located in Denver many years ago. And when we first started bringing the device in there, we'd actually hear these two girls that were murdered there. It was a double homicide unsolved, or swept under the rug. They didn't want anything to do with it. And we were able to communicate with the girls and start finding out, working with them, bringing them down from that level of being in a constant state of fear and panic in that earthbound state, and start communicating with them, eventually crossing that. And what we did then is started going through the question and answer, started working with law enforcement and actually passing the information back to law enforcement to work on the case. And the person of interest, I have to be careful how I say this because I don't want to throw names out there, I'm not allowed to do that, but the person of interest in the case actually came to one of our events just to find out how much we knew. And didn't know that we knew who he was, didn't know anything along those lines. But when the girl started calling out his name, saying he's here, and screaming, he literally burst from the room and went outside of the door and left.
Wow, that's intense.
So it's just been incredible. It's these things that happen. You know, sometimes I have to pinch myself because it's when we get involved in these cases, it's almost like you're in a dream or a TV show. You're like, is this really happening to me? But I think one of the more fascinating things that's happened as well that I found out later on, there's a book out, you might be familiar with it actually, it's called The Skull Experiment. And essentially what that was in the 90s, a group of scientists and psychics got together in Skull, England, and started doing controlled environment psychic research, where they were saying they were communicating with the other side, they could prove it, and things would happen in these testings where they'd have unopened 35 millimeter film, and they would open up the film, and the film would have all sorts of writing and designs and diagrams on it from this world, the next world, and world we don't know. And one thing that came through in that, and I was completely unaware of this, is that Edison had made a statement that his device would actually be completed in a few years. And once it was completed, it would be taken out to the rest of the world, and then people would start to be able to understand true spirit communication at that point. So when someone brought this to my attention and brought the book to one of my events, said, "Are you aware of this?" And I said, "No." And I was reading the book on a flight from New York to San Diego, and I opened it up and I realized when I was reading this that he, I believe, was speaking about the work that I'm doing right now. It just was mind-blowing.
Oh, no kidding.
Someone predicting the future.
And you were
was
that prediction?
really...
Wow. That's
exactly.
That's interesting.
And just the way it's worded and put together is just absolutely incredible. So this device, the way that it was built and brought through, Frank being the type of personality he is, which is just great, and the device being out there and being able to take it out and having this platform to literally talk to, thousands of individuals each year. And then I'm also blessed too because I tour college campuses September through November. Colleges actually booked me in to come in and lecture about the paranormal, about psychic experiences. And I go in and I get to talk to all these 18 to 22-year-old college students about what I do, about the research, about the evidence. And what I'll do after I do the lectures, I actually take a small group of them on an investigation out on their campus. And as much as it starts out as the boo and scare factor, because that's usually the fun thing to do, by the time we actually get out there and start communicating with spirit, it never fails. They start communicating with loved ones, they start communicating with people on the other side, it becomes emotional, it becomes big, and pretty soon at that point, they're able to, literally, go back with these stories to their families and spread the word even more.
Wow.
So it's just really incredible. And one quick story about that, and I'll drop it because I'm sure we're probably getting short on time here. I had a very interesting situation that happened in Nebraska. I was actually at a Wesleyan Institute out there, which is very fundamental, religious fundamental, and I wasn't aware of that. I should probably do my research a little bit better. But I went out there and I did my lecture, and I took the kids out on an investigation that night. And we were actually in one of the female dorms. And one of these spirits came through and was kind of being goofy and talking about, oh, I fell out the window and all sorts of different things. I'm like, this doesn't make sense. Well, all of a sudden, through the device, this little girl's voice comes through, and she calls out a name. And this one girl in the crowd just goes, what? She goes, I said, well, do you recognize it? She goes, what did it just say? And we repeated it, and her back to her. She goes, that's me. And she goes, I don't believe in any of this stuff, and I don't want to believe in it. I'm just here for fun. I don't know what's going on. As it turns out, this turned out to be one of her little sisters that came through. And what had happened was, apparently, we found out later, this girl and her two little sisters got into a fight, and they were just bickering back and forth. And it got pretty intense. Even though they were little kids, they really had some hard feelings. Well, the two other girls jumped in the car with the mother. The mother started driving, and she got into a terrible car accident. The mother lived, but the two little girls died.
Oh, wow. And
this girl had gone through her young life with regret of the last words stated to her sisters being these terrible, terrible things. The little girls came through, they forgave her, they told her specific messages to pass on to the family, that they loved her, and that none of it meant anything except for the love that they had for each other. And at this point, of course, she was broken down in tears. My mother and I were we sat down with her, of course free of charge, but we sat down with her for a good 2 hours, just her one-on-one with one of her friends, talking back and forth with her sisters and getting information. Now, if you talk about synchronicity, I mean, she was just blown away by this, obviously, and recording everything. She actually took that message, and she had a huge family wedding the very next day that she was flying out to. she took these messages these little girls had given to the family and spread this to all the family members at the wedding. I received thank you cards and emails for months after
Wow.
all the messages that came through at that point. And she thanked me. It was just an amazing synchronistic experience that the two of us had together. And her family is just incredible for what they did. And the funny thing about that is as healing as that was, as amazing as that was, because they were a religious school, they ended up writing a terrible review about how demons had come through and tried to, trick these terrible things. Though there was not one bad word that came through. It was all wonderful messages. But it was just absolutely incredible. So, this device has taken me on a journey that I can never have imagined. It's just incredible.
Wow, nice. Now, my next question, I don't know if you've done this before, but have you talked to spirits and beings from the future?
I haven't. I can't say that I've spoken to spirits from the future, because when we talk to them, they say that there is no time on their side, that time is a human measurement. And a lot of people ask things as far as, what's going to happen to me, what's going to do this, what's going to do that, and fortune telling really isn't what we do.
Well,
but,
no, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying like you could even, and I don't know, you might want to consider this, talking to Christopher's moon 20 years from now, the spirit of that being 20 years from now. It's still
right.
It has nothing to do with time frame, but it just a different dimension.
Absolutely, and I've asked so many questions like that.
and you haven't got that results. Okay, I hear you.
Yeah, they usually, it seems like they have gates up. There's certain enough you're supposed to know. For instance, I'll just give you one thing that came through my guide. I got standard questions. What's it like over there? What happened? And basically, you get the standard. It's more beautiful than words can describe, so on and so forth. Very, very generic. But the one thing that amazed me and really I have not been able to put it all together yet. I haven't been able to connect the dots. But essentially what they say is that there is no physical reality there. Everything is done through energy. And so what happens when you cross, when you cross, you move on to the other side, and you project out your own reality once you're there. Your utopia is your projection. And the interesting thing about this is that your soul circle, the people that you're around on this side and the other side and all together, basically what they will do is they will project out their realities, and the realities become intertwined. So essentially, your loved ones, your soul circle, you're intertwining your reality with theirs on the other side, and that would be considered utopia, would be considered heaven.
So now, okay. So is that the same thing as talking to God, Goddess? Or have you made an attempt to talk to God?
Yeah, when it comes down to it, that's a great question. They really don't break it down into specifics. We talk about the different levels, and they're on a very specific level. We've got the earthbound that of course, we try to help cross all the time. And we've got the next level, which would be the energy projection. And then, of course, they're the creators or creator, depending on your belief system. So, from time to time, we'll tap into that. But they really will cut us off when we get too far into it. There's only so much we're supposed to know where we are right now.
Got it. Interesting. So there's a red tape. I guess even with God, there's red tape. What the heck? There's red tape everywhere. What the heck's going on?
Exactly. I think it's one of those situations, from what I've been able to tell, where basically we're only supposed to know so much at this time before we hit the next level of evolution.
So, but even what the information you're getting now through the spirit phone is pretty amazing. Sounds like to me.
Absolutely.
Now what so you've said you've talked to Archangel Michael through your spirit phone. What other beings have you talked to through a spirit phone that are significant?
Oh, you put me on the spot. I honestly, through the years, we've had so many different conversations. We've actually touched in several of our readings on just put it this way, I have to be very careful how I say these things, the energy of the one known as Jesus. We've touched on and actually had communication with Mary. We've had communication with a lot of the Ascended Masters. We've we've touched base with these people. And the interesting thing is it's really the client. It's not me. It's the client who comes in with the questions and has the interaction, and I just become a part of the interaction, and I just am like a sponge, and I absorb it. And I feel like my role in this is to be the facilitator and the historian. I try to take in that information and relay it back to others.
Got it. So we got about 5 minutes left, Chris. First of all, if people want to get hold of you to book some of these or find out where your scheduling is or where you're going to be at, how do they do that? Where do they go to?
Honestly, the best place to catch me is at my website, and it's a simple address. It's chrismoonpsychic.com, and that's chrismoonpsychic.com. That has everything you'd want to know about me, where I'm going to be, how to contact me. If you'd like a reading, investigation, whatever the case might be, I'm happy to help.
And what's the procedure for that? How do people go through for set something like that up with you?
With a reading?
Yes.
Basically, they just contact me through the website and let me know that they're interested in doing that. And they can either meet me out at one of my events that I do, or we can do the reading via phone, or we can do the reading via Skype as well.
Got it. And I don't know, do you have a fee for that? Or I'm assuming you do, but I don't know if you want to give that out right now, or they'll just let you just let them know at the time. But whatever you want to do, that's up to you.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. The fee has remained the same since I started doing the private readings back in 2007, which is $120 for 20 minutes. And with the Skype, we do $150 for 20 minutes.
Got it. And do you record these readings when you're doing this, or not?
It's optional, yeah. If somebody wants me to record the online, so they can always record it on their own or with them. But if they'd like me to do it and then run editing software to take out some of the static, I can do that as well.
Got it. So, again, we got about 4 minutes left. Anything that you want to put out there that you haven't put out there yet?
I think that I talked about my schedule coming up. I've got a lot of things happening. I am excited about this very quickly. One thing we haven't touched base on tonight is that I do a lot of work with my mother. She is actually the person who handed me my ability. And we do something that is basically, we call it the Moon Family Psychic Experience. And what that is we go out to metaphysical locations around the world. We go out to different places, and we actually do a gallery reading for people where she uses her gifts and I use my gifts with the spirit phone, and we actually do a gallery and then do private readings the next day for everybody. And we're going to be on the road in 2015. It looks like we're going to be out there almost every single day, going from spot to spot.
Wow.
We are trying to finish up. Yeah, we're trying to finish up our first book, which has been on demand for, I know people have been bugging us for about 10 years now to get a book out there. We're hoping to have that ready by next year. So it should be, a book tour slash, I guess a psychic tour. But we'll be out there doing our thing all around the country.
Well, it sounds like you got some interesting stuff. And then, and you got some. Well, you and I have talked to some about doing an event next year, and we'll see how that goes. But in the meantime, again, we're going to be bringing you onto the channel panel next Friday, this next coming Friday, 7 to 8:30 p.m. And we're going to be doing readings again with you and your spirit phone, and Abla out of England, who again
90 seconds.
The other side really well. I was pretty taken when I had her do a sample for me, and so that'll be really
looking forward to it.
Check it out. So I want to thank you a whole lot for being here, Chris, and thank all of you for being here and just dropping by, and of course John and some what was this other woman's name? I can't remember. For all of you, just come by and just share and just go from there.
60 seconds.
Thank you all for being here. Have a God-Goddess week. Be the love that you are, always have been, and always will be. Aloha.
Thank you.
Thank you for using Blog Talk Radio. Goodbye.
Let me turn off all these recordings. Literally, I've got 3 different recordings going on.
Your current recording has stopped.